All right. How's everybody doing? So I want to reply a little bit more to Supraniscient about this issue of religion and, and ethics. I remember some years ago there used to be a show on PBS called Religion and Ethics News Weekly. And Supraniscient is claiming here, and I thank you for reaching out to us. He's claiming that the Sefer Koheles, Megillas Koheles, the book of Ecclesiastes, when it says Al Ti Tzadik Harbe, don't be too big of a tzaddik, is warning us against a very real threat, and I agree that there is this threat, and it does happen that people get obsessed with religion and they ignore ethics, and it happens sometimes. The question is, does it happen all the time? Does it happen every time? And my answer is no. It happens. Generally, there are certain people who are, they already have some other issue. And they use religion and abuse religion as a means to get what they want. And it's not a problem with the religion. And it's not a problem necessarily with the religious people by and large. The vast majority of religious people are good, moral, ethical people. And even though they might fall once in a while, they recognize, generally, that there's something wrong and that they have to fix. And they'll repent. It reminds me of some years ago, and I've mentioned this many times, there was a governor somewhere in the South Carolina, and he was a very devout Christian, and it was revealed that he was having an ongoing affair, and Rush Limbaugh was commenting on this. This has to go back at least 15 years, maybe more. And he said, well, this man, the left will tell you this man, he's a hypocrite. Look at how horrible he is. He's pretending to be a Christian, and really he's not. And how dare he impose rules on us that he himself doesn't even adhere to. And Rush Limbaugh's answer to that is that it's not that he's not a real Christian. It's that he's realistic, but he still doesn't supplant his ethics and morals simply because it doesn't fit him. You understand what I'm saying? Meaning, he recognizes that what he's doing is wrong. He doesn't go and say, you can do whatever you want because whatever you feel like it. What he's saying is, no, he's doing something wrong and he recognizes that it's wrong. And it's better to have a standard, even if you don't live up to it, than to have no standards at all. And that's the question: where do we get how do we decide which rules are ritual and which rules are ethical and moral? There's not really much of an easy way to divide that. I mean, certain things maybe are more obvious than others, but then you get to certain areas that are gray areas. I'm not saying that there are no clear moral laws and there are no clear ritual laws and that it's all the same. Obviously it's not all the same, and I've argued that with other people. the fact that I argued with someone, how uncomfortable I am, with all due respect to Rabbi Mizrahi. When Rabbi Yossi Mizrahi says something along the lines that someone who's Mechalel Shabbat is like a murderer, he is wrong. Why is he wrong? They're both Chayiv Misa. So he should be right. No? The answer is that I bring from Chazal, from a Mishnah. That Medayik in this Mishnah, maybe you could argue, but my answer is as follows. The Mishnah in Malkus, it says, the Chassidim say Malkus, but it's Makos. The Mishnah in Makos says that if a Bezdin gives Misas Bezdin, gives a capital punishment once in 7 years, it's chavlonis, it's destructive, it's going too far. The next opinion says it's not once in 7 years, but once in 70 years. And then the third opinion says, if I were alive when we still had the death penalty, I would have abolished it. And so they answered back to him, no, you cannot abolish the death penalty totally. Because if you do that, you have to keep it on the books as a deterrent. Why? Because otherwise, it's if you don't if you abolish the death penalty, if you don't have it on the books as a deterrent, it says marbim shvichas damim marbim tzchonim. I don't remember the exact lashon of Mishnah, but you're increasing murderers b'Yisrael. So why doesn't it say Mechalei Shabbos you're increasing? Why doesn't it say Oivdei Avodah Zarah you're increasing? Why doesn't it even say Nayafim you're increasing? Why doesn't it say Sabbath desecrators you're increasing? That's a capital offense. Why doesn't it say idolaters you're increasing? That's a capital offense. Why doesn't it say adulterers you're increasing? That's a capital offense. Why does it specifically say Sheichei Damim, Ratzchonim? The answer is, I feel that we should be medayik there. What the Mishnah says is that the answer is that that there's something worse about murder than even adultery and idolatry, and certainly than Sabbath desecration. If you want to put together in one basket those three cardinal sins that are Yahara Kal Yavor, that's another reason why we can say like this. Adultery and idolatry and murder, or all three are Yahara Kal Yavor. They are the cardinal sins that you can't even do to save your life. Someone puts a gun to your head and tell you to do one of those three. You could kill that guy in self-defense, but you can't kill an innocent person, and you can't. That's murder. Self-defense is not murder, and you can't do these other idolatry. You can't even pretend to change to a different religion. You can't commit adultery, or really any form of fornication. It seems even cases that are not capital offenses, meaning adultery is a capital offense, but other forms of fornication are not. Some are and some aren't. Incest is, and various sexual sins that are punishable by the death penalty, and yet we don't punish all sexual sins with the death penalty. And yet, if someone put a gun to someone's head and said to do something which would be considered more or less minor in that area, you're not allowed to do it. Even Rambam says, even if someone, the doctor says he needs to talk to this girl and not even see her. The Rambam says, and he's going to die if he doesn't. Rambam says, don't even let him talk to her, even she's single. Unless they're going to get married, whatever. It's hard to understand. It's hard for us to, in our day and age, it's hard for us to understand these things. And the Tosfos recognizes that even in those days it was also hard. We had these problems all throughout our history. That's not what we're talking about here, whether or not we have these issues. What we're talking about, though, is Shabbos is not one of those. Shabbos, to save someone's life, we go out of our way to break Shabbos. It's the Gedolei Yisrael who's supposed to go, not supposed to have just anybody. The best and the brightest are supposed to go. To save someone's life on Shabbos, you break Shabbos. So that also shows breaking Shabbos not like murder. Now, you're breaking Shabbos not to save someone's life. It is a capital sin. It is a very grave sin. But it's not murder, and it's not even really Gila Rice and Avodah Zarah. Because those are different. Those are Yarek Val Yavor, and Shabbos isn't. So to talk like that, it's very problematic. And yes, I believe that it's a capital offense to break Shabbos. But that's the other thing we have to recognize. The more you learn Torah, the more you actually learn what Torah is all about. And when I say Torah, I don't just mean the Bible. I mean the rabbinical traditions and the later rabbinical interpretations. It's filled with compassion. I remember my Rebbe from high school, Rabbi Weinberger, explaining like this. That says, "Bavloi tipshoi, how foolish are the Babylonians?" The Gemara says they'll stand up for a Sefer Torah and they won't stand up for a Gavar Rabbah. They'll stand up for a Torah scroll passing by, but they won't stand up for a rabbinical leader, a great man. And they stand up for the Chefza, not for the Gavar, right? And I forgot who he said that from. I remember it was around the time when Rav Pam was Nifter. And he said, the Gemara says, why back to corporal punishment, which is the whole subject of Maseches Makos. So excuse me. So the Torah says if someone commits certain sins, Arbaim Yakenu, Mispar Arbaim Yakenu, he gets 40 lashes. The Torah says 40 lashes. The rabbis say no, Mispar Arbaim is what the Torah says. The number of 40, what's the number that's before 40 is 39. The rabbis took away one lash. They say it's 39, it's not 40. So that's the difference, is that the Gavar Rabbah takes away lashes, takes away makos, takes away pain from a Jew. You go to the tzaddik, you go to the Gavar Rabbah, a great man, and he takes away your pain. He takes away your suffering. He shows you compassion. Chassam Sofer says that's the whole point of a rabbi, is to show love and compassion to people. And the rabbinical laws are called Toras Imecha. It says Shma b'ni Musar Avicha Val Titosh Toras Imecha. It says in the Proverbs, hear my son, listen my son to the teaching, to the ethical teachings, maybe the harsh teachings of your father, and do not abandon the Torah, the teachings of your mother. And the way it's often been taught is that the Musar Avicha is the written Torah, whereas the Doraisa is the biblical law, and the Torah Simecha, your mother's teachings, are the rabbinical law. And why is it called like that? To say your father says, you better not go to this place. I'm forbidding you from going to this place, to the theater or something, or the baseball stadium. You're grounded, don't go there. You could go to other places, you can't go to the baseball stadium, right? The mother says, you know what, don't even get a half a mile from the baseball stadium. You're gonna see it, you're not gonna be able to hold back. I love you, I don't want your father to hit you. I'm putting something extra to protect you. And that's what it's really all about. Meaning we have these extra things to protect us. The thing is, do we sometimes go too far? According to some of my rebbeim, yes. And some, and it's true. And you see there is a certain attitude that people have, but with all of that, they usually tend to be, for the most part, nice people. You go to a place like the Fallsburg Yeshiva, or Gibbers. I know both of them are in the news right now. The sweetest, nicest people you're ever going to meet are in Curious Vishnitz, and in Fallsburg Yeshiva, and in Mountaindale Yeshiva. Sweetest, nicest, most normal people you ever want to meet. Well-adjusted, friendly, down-to-earth, and pious, and sneeze, and good people. And they're ethical people, and they're moral people, and they care about other people. It's a shayna zach. This is what we have to be involved with, to be fine, and they're pious people with all the dikdukei halacha. They follow all the stringencies or everything you can find, but they're nice, normal, good people. They're not nasty. I think a lot of what people say, the religious people are nasty. The Pittsburgher Rebbe, the old Pittsburgher Rebbe, he said that the Rambam brings that Adam Nimshach Achar Sviva. A person is drawn after his surroundings, after his environment. So people, they live in Brooklyn. Can you blame them for being nasty? They live in a nasty place, in a nasty environment. And the thing is, there's still a lot of nice people in Brooklyn despite that. A lot of nice from people who are friendly and nice, despite the horrible place they live, the horrible environment they live in. And that's why the people in Fallsburg and in Kaimisha Lake, they're nice because they live in a beautiful place. Okay. That's part of it, maybe, Same thing in Israel. They're surrounded by Israelis. I can't blame them, So, the pious people, they don't see themselves as Israelis. They're just Jews. But, Okay, but they're surrounded by Israelis. So how can you blame them? That's how they are. And Israelis, they're surrounded by the Arabs. So the Pittsburgh Rebbe used to say, why is it that a Jew from Poland and a Jew from Galicia might not get along? He said it's because, they're Nimshach Achar Sviva, that the Polish and the Galicianer Gentiles don't get along. So the Jews really get along. It's just their atmosphere, their surroundings that don't get along. There's a lot of depth in that. But for the most part, the religious people I know, even if they're not perfect, and I know some people who are religious and are not so friendly, right? But usually they feel bad about it. They turn around, they'll apologize a million times, and maybe they'll do it again. And we have to be patient, but for the most part they recognize they're doing something wrong. Now then, people talk about abuse. I don't know how much of this stuff is true. I know people don't like to hear that. I know it's offensive to people. But personally, I question a lot of these stories that go on with abuse. But if someone is abusing a religion, there's no excuse. And I always say at work, I work as a chaplain. I work as a head chaplain, serving all the different religions. And every week, when the new inmates come to prison, we do an orientation for them. And part of the orientation is they talk to parole, and they talk to the work that they're given there, the jobs that are available to them. And I'm usually the last one who's there for the religious services and chaplaincy services. And I always tell them, this is not a house of punishment, it's a house of correction. It's our job to make sure you get out of here better than you got in here. Even if you didn't do what they say you did, there's something you can fix. And I myself, I hope when I leave at the end of the day, I'm better than when I got there in the morning. Which I usually am, because I'm not a morning person. And we serve all different religions there. There's not a big Jewish population there, Baruch Hashem, thank God. But we have different people listed different things, and they offer in the prison, that you can register yourself as these different religions, and they give different options. And so the big ones that we have, the biggest group we have is Protestant, and then there's Catholic, and there's Muslim, and we serve them. Obviously today is Eid al-Fitr, and they had a feast to celebrate. They made it through 30 days fasting, but for them it's a nice thing, But I listen to the khutbah. As being the head chaplain, I have to listen to the sermons that are given. So I listen to the khutbah, and they'll mention it's not just about not eating. Even that's part of it too. But you have to transform yourself and find brotherhood and friendship and ethics and morals and grow. And obviously the same thing the Christians are teaching, the same thing we, the Jews, were teaching. Whatever our religious stuff that we do that's different, we have this in common, that we believe that we have to be better people, not just better Jews or better Muslims or better Christians, but better people. And part of what I have to look at is avoiding anything that's radical and anything that's disparaging of other faiths. But what I always say is, if theoretically, we have, 9, 10, 15 guys who are registered as atheists. Atheist/agnostic/ meaning we group a lot of groups together in one group. So even though obviously atheist and agnostic are not the same, but they have what they list there: atheist, agnostic, and religious humanist. And I always say, every week, maybe not every week, but quite often I'll say at this orientation, just like we accommodate these different religions that I'm not a part of, and maybe I don't agree with some of their religious stuff, right? But we accommodate them, and I'm happy that we accommodate them, because, let's say that the Wiccans, they're learning about all different types of gods. Now their minister who comes, he told me he believes that there's really only one God, only one divinity, and it's expressed in different cultures in different ways. I can hear that. It's still forbidden for us as Jews. It's still a avodah zarah, no matter what it is, and it's a capital offense for a Jew. But I can hear that this could be what we call shittuf. That there's recognition that there's one higher divinity, and that everything else is just the expression of something. Sorry, shine. It's a shine of oil. I don't feel like going to mikveh today. I don't need to, Baruch Hashem. So went last night. Although Minchas Elazar was a big thing. No. These yards in Minchas Elazar. What was I saying here? So I'm very happy that we have a volunteer comes in once a month to teach the pagan inmates about their religion, but also to teach them ethics and morals. And he said once, I think it was the first time he said, it's like, where these movements have come out of, that the neo-pagan movements have been growing, and he said part of it has to do with Harry Potter. But he said, is that really so bad? If someone is learning to be ethical and moral and believe in a higher power now because of that, is there really anything wrong with that? So if that was the catalyst that led someone to that, can't complain. So I say the same thing. If the atheists even wanted to get together and get a volunteer, I would help them find a volunteer from, I don't know, like the Society for Ethical Humanism, something like that. They're going to come, and even I disagree totally with them, with theologically speaking. I believe in God very strongly, and I believe that everything that we have comes from God, and our ethics and morals come from God. But if these people, rather than have them believe that they're laced in, laced dying, that they don't have to believe in anything, and so therefore they have no responsibilities, and they could just live an immoral life, I'd rather have them have an atheist chaplain come in and teach these men ethics and morals from an atheist point of view. I'd make a caveat, as long as they're not disparaging the other religions. I have no problem with them being treated like every other religion. And I know some people don't like that, but on both sides of the coin, but that's my approach. And it has to be that way, because I can't, as a chaplain who works for the government, discriminate against atheists. So, and the thing is that, if they're going to come out of there better than they got in there, like we said, Department of Corrections, not Department of Punishment, goes into hate. So thank you for watching. God bless. Please like, share, and subscribe. Comment. We'll see you later.